Hey everybody, my name is Jennifer. This is Metatron speaking, and today I'm gonna be showing you, be talking to you about some of my past lives. So I'm gonna show you how this came up actually, because I told you in a previous video that the way my guides have been talking to me lately, I've been trying to get personal messages on oracle cards, and instead they've been giving me messages on these oracle cards that are intended for me to know what I need to be channeling next versus them telling me how my month ahead is going to go or whatever the case may be. So, I want to show you this because if you use oracle cards, perhaps this is a way that your guides would like to communicate with you, or maybe they're trying to communicate this way with you. So, I want to show you what they're doing with me. Just so you know, I'm going to be showing you two cards from this deck and a few from this one. This one's actually a tarot deck, so I don't get to use it very often um, because I don't have the skill of being a tarot reader at this time. So the reason I knew that the conversation with my guides was going to go this way in the first place is actually from these two cards, which is from that first deck I showed you, and it's not gonna seem obvious at first glance why these two cards would be the ones telling me that I was going to be looking at past lifetimes. So if you look at the words, that's not going to help you. If you look initially at the photos, it's not even going to help you. So a lot of times our guides will use symbols or pictures that we personally associate with certain things. It doesn't have to be what everyone associates with it. They know, they can see our thoughts, they can see our experiences, they know what we associate with certain things. So if you look really closely at this guy, right about here, there are it looks like a timepiece. Looks like the inner wheels of like a clock. And so when I saw that, I immediately thought time because they drew my attention to that. So I'm like, okay, time. And then they gave me this one, and it was like, okay, it's a tall tale. It's like Pinocchio the puppet sitting on top of a hat. What's the point? And I'm looking at the hat. Now, this is not for everyone, but for me, this kind of hat and also a bowler hat, which is like a black hat that's kind of rounded on top. Um, Both of those kinds of hats make me think of time travel. So these two cards together were telling me we're going to be doing some time traveling. And time traveling with my guides really means traveling into the past. They don't really go into the future so much since it's not really set in stone. So I knew we were going to be doing past lives, and they told me seven. And so they had me pull seven different tarot cards, and none of them really look like anything in particular. I had to work really hard to figure this out. I'll show you what I mean. I'm not going to do all seven of the lives because they just weren't that fascinating. Not all of them. There were, I think, two of them that you guys will find interesting. So I have to stare at each of these cards for a long time, and I get to discern one word from each of the cards that's kind of symbolic of what that lifetime is going to be involving. So the words I got were a genie, a dragon, Anubis, the ocean, a castle, love, and someone sacred to me. So the ones that I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you this one. So this card is one of the past lives I'm going to show you. So I ultimately got the word genie from them making me look at her feet, me look at her shoes. And her shoes made me think of a genie, and that's what they wanted me to get from that card. Some of them were more obvious, like this one was dragon. Um, this one was Anubis, that's more obvious. But then this one, I was supposed to get ocean from it, and it took me a long time because yes, the ocean is there, but that's not what I was paying attention to for a long time. Um, yeah. So let me do the lifetimes. So the genie lifetime. So they start showing me the visions, and I'm like, okay, this isn't a genie. This is half genie, half fish. This is we are back on Mintanka with the merpeople that are like blue with the long black hair that's in the dreadlocks. And so I am of that race again. So I'm a blue mer person with the long black hair. I'm female, and I see that I've come up out of the water, like, my top part of me is out of the water, and I kind of lean back in the water and I'm kind of just relaxing. And then I see a male who is the same race as me, but up out of the water, like kind of nearby me. And we were racing, like who could get to the top first. And I guess I got to the top and I was trying to show off, like, oh, I've been here such a long time. I'm just here, like, relaxing, waiting for you. And so I beat him to the top. And the male who popped up, he was smiling, and this is Archangel Michael's soul again. So this is another lifetime with him in Mintanka. So you can only imagine all of us must have so many lifetimes where we kind of, not that we're playing the exact same lifetime over, but we do the details a little bit differently. Because the last lifetime I saw with him, I was a different race, right? And we had a different interaction. But anyways, so we both popped up out of the water. I dive back down. He's following me again. We're like chasing each other around, like racing around. He grabbed my tail so I couldn't get away. And we were like laughing. And I see there's another mer person who is approaching us, and he's much bigger than us. And he's a Sirius energy. And he comes over and he's scolding Michael. And I realize this is Michael's father. And I realize that his father is so much bigger than us because we're probably the equivalent of teenagers. And so we're not our full adult sizes yet. So he and his father is a large mer person. So he was just much bigger than us, and he was very intimidating with his energy. Um, so his father yells at him. So Michael hurries off to go leave and do whatever responsible mer person thing that he needed to do. And I'm left alone with his father, and I'm immediately like scared that I'm with his father. And his father is menacing. His father has lots of dark energy. His father was angry, so he had like the glowing yellow eye thing going on. He has a trident with him as well. That's what I noticed. And so this is what I get from him. He doesn't like me around his son. He thinks I am distracting him. He thinks I am influencing Michael's soul. I don't know what the person's name was. To be childish. He thinks I'm wasting his time. He thinks I have bewitched Michael. He thinks I've used dark energy to bond Michael, as I'm calling him, to me. He tells me this. He tells me this ends now, or some equivalent of that, and that I'm going to start getting back what I've been giving out. So he thinks I'm bad news, I'm bad energy, and he wants me to see justice, is what that was. So his eyes glow brighter, and I'm aware that he is marking me with a curse. He is binding me. Whatever he did to me made me believe that Michael, or Michael's soul, in that incarnation, did not care about me, and that he didn't care about being around me. So I stopped going around him, which is exactly what his father wanted. So from Michael's perspective, I stopped caring and it hurt him badly. And I could see that this marking that was placed on me was placed on my heart, and I had to ask Metatron to remove it now that I'm aware of it. Um, and I told Archangel Michael sorry because it's the right thing to do. Um, so it's funny because everyone thinks of like Archangel Michael as, he's the protector and he's the defender and he's this, you know, he's this protective energy and whatnot. But there are all these other aspects to him where he's he's very he's very athletic, he's funny, he loves to dance, he loves children, he's very he's sensitive. Like he can be angry, obviously, like all of us can be angry, but he's sensitive too. He's a very emotional feeling um energy that maybe I didn't realize that at first. But just like all the archangels love so strongly, so they get hurt very strongly too from things. So I apologize to him. Um, but yeah, so that was that lifetime. The other one I want to tell you about doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, was from that ocean card where you could just barely see the ocean. So again, I am a mer person for this lifetime, but this time I look like I'm half elf, half fish. And if you saw my video earlier in the week, you will know that this is how the Merpeople on Sirius B, the planet Sirius B, look. So I'm Syrian. The water is turquoise. It's crystal clear. It's very calm. It's not like the oceans on Earth where, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of waves, there's a lot of turbulence. It's like a very chill ocean. Um, White sand at the bottom. And like I said, like super clear. Like it doesn't have that. It's like the sand doesn't kick up into the water, I guess because there's not the level of waves we have here on Earth. But there was like an underwater city, and the energy of the place was very light, um, visually light and energetically light. It's a high vibration. It feels very safe. It feels very loving. The fish that I saw looked similar to, I don't know if you guys know what butterfly fish are. It's like one of my favorite fish. But it looks similar to like a butterfly fish in the shape, but the fins were like ruffled. I know it's kind of hard to explain it. Um, and there was a lot of shine to the fish. Like the actual body looked very iridescent. Like you could, as the fish moved, a lot of light reflected off of its body. And the fish were very unafraid. There wasn't any, it's not like here where fish see you and they're like, ah, and they go to hide. These fish were just like, hey, hi, hi. And they just, no fear whatsoever, probably because the high vibration. Um, there were two dolphins. Okay, I'm just now realizing that there were two dolphins in this vision, and I had two dolphins in another vision, and they're the same two dolphins. I don't know if you guys saw the video, um, the Lightworker Gateway video, where I talked about communicating with the 12 Merpeople from Sirius B, and how I went into the water with them, and Metatron brought me two dolphins to help me like stay afloat while I talked to them in the water. And those are the same two dolphins. I told you I knew those dolphins. That's funny. Okay, so in this vision, two dolphins came right up to me. I didn't think anything of this. And they are talking telepathically to me, so I must have known them. I didn't think to ask about it, but they were talking telepathically to me, and they were like swimming around me. And they were asking me if I wanted to play. And so they would, it's kind of hard to explain. So they would swim, and as they were swimming, they were blowing these rings out of bubbles. And so the ring would, as they would swim, the ring would kind of float back and like expand more as it was floating backwards. And and so the whole point of the game was for like them to swim in front of me and blow these bubble rings, and I would try to swim through the rings of bubbles. And it's kind of like a smoke ring for anyone who smokes. Um, and so they would, you know, go up higher to move the bubble rings higher or go down lower to move them lower, so that it was like kind of, it was tricky to try to swim through all these bubble rings. Um, so we were doing that, and then I stopped because I saw um, a male mer person had been watching me, and he has like long platinum blonde hair, but it's tied back in like several places so that it's not floating all over the water. And I know him. I know this is my partner. Music starts up before I can talk to this partner of mine. There's this music, and it sounds like singing bowls almost. And it's a pod of whales that are passing by, kind of at a distance, really. Um, but the sound of their singing, I wrote down, they keep everything in an ultra high vibration with their songs. Low vibrational energy can't seem to exist here, at least not for long. And then I start looking at where this partner is, because the partner is like leaning up against our little home. And so right outside of that is where I was. And I'm starting to see that him and I um, farm some kind of underwater plant, like seaweed. I'm not sure. Um, so the plants is just like farming here, where they're all lined up neatly, but the plants were really short still. They were still growing. And then we also have oysters that we farm, and we farm those for food and also for pearls. So the partner comes over and he shows me this really beautiful yellow pearl that he had harvested that day. And it's really a vibrant yellow, almost like a piece of candy, but it's iridescent because it's a pearl. And so he wants it to be a bracelet for me. And then I can see that he's very good at making jewelry. So he braids fibers together to make into jewelry. Um, and I see that he's wearing a necklace that I made for him. So it's like these brown fibers. And then in the center, it's like this kind of like this net of fibers. And it has this really big white pearl in there. And that is something that I made for him. And he taught me how to weave those. Um, so he's wearing that for me. So a female neighbor comes over and she's talking to him and she's asking him for some kind of help. And so he says he'll be back in a little bit. So I'm like, okay. So I'm going oyster to oyster now, and I'm checking on the oysters just to see if there's any other pearls that are ready to come out. And a while later, this female comes back and she's in a panic. And she takes me over to her house, and my partner is outside of her house, and he has been cut really deeply on his wrist. And I know that it's an accident. And in my mind, I'm thinking, like, stingray? I don't know what it was. There was some kind of accident with an animal that resulted in that. Um, so it's a deep cut, and he bleeds to death. So I can see myself after his death. I'm wearing his necklace that I made for him, and it's got the white pearl that I gave to him, and then I also put the yellow pearl that he was gonna. Sorry, I'm like Am I clearing trauma from my throat right now? Sorry, maybe I am clearing trauma from my throat right now. Um, so it also had the yellow pearl that he wanted to make into a bracelet for me, into the necklace as well. Um, and I see that I'm sad, but I do all the things that we used to do together. Um, so I'm still doing the seaweed farming and I'm still doing the oyster farming. And I just think of him the entire time that I'm doing those things. And that kind of makes me feel like he's still close, even though, life has totally changed after that. So those are the two lifetimes. I thought they were interesting because they're both Merpeople lifetimes and they give us a little more information on two different Merpeople groups. I also saw an Andromedan lifetime, which is the first time I've ever seen that, but it wasn't substantial whatsoever. It was literally, I was Andromedan. I had blue skin, but I looked human. I had some kind of like antenna, like two antennas on my head. So I mean, Andromeda is an entire galaxy, so I don't know what planet this is from. Um, but yeah, it was a really short lifetime. So there was nothing else Andromedan about it for me to share with you guys. So I didn't want to get into that one. But I just thought these were interesting. So hopefully you did too. And if you are interested in a Mintakan activation, if you are interested in the Mintakan Merpeople or any other race there, I have that activation available on my website. And for the other Merpeople group, the Syrians, that is an activation that is in the works that we will probably have available in the next few weeks, I would say. So if you're interested in either one of those, Mintonkin is already available on the website. You can check it out. I'll put the website in the description. And the Syrian one probably be available in a week or two. So until next time, everyone, see you later. Bye bye.